Hey, this is Philip Stutz, author of The Undefeated Marketing System, How to Grow Your Business and Build Your Audience Using the Secret Formula That Elects Presidents. On today's show, we are going to talk about the incredible world of marketing and how it is absolutely rigged against 99% of businesses. And stay tuned because you will learn how to beat the game of marketing, win in all the things you do with your marketing, and grow your business no matter how much the tech world changes and tries to disrupt you. Hope you'll tune in, and I love being with my buddy, Dov Baron of the Leadership and Loyalty Podcast.
Welcome back to part two of our delicious conversation with Mr. Philip Stutz. He is a best-selling author who comes from the cutthroat world of political and corporate marketing. His resume is quite massive, and that he has been at the marketing end of over 1,400 election victories, including 3 U.S. presidential victories, and he's presently working with multiple Fortune 200 companies. He's been a guest on our show before, and never short on powerful insights and ways of understanding marketing and that are not just somebody like, honestly, I'll be honest with you, we turn people away who will say, can I come on the show to talk about marketing? No, you can't. And the reason for it is that I do it with Philip is obviously, as I said in part one, his resume is exceptional in the cutthroat world of political marketing has got to be the toughest there is. But on top of that, he understands what's going on in the marketing world in a way that so few people do. In the new book, which is The Undefeated Marketing System, you talk about punching the competition in the mouth, particularly in chapter 8. So talk to us a little bit about that, because I want people to sort of get what that means. By the way, I love the aggression of that as a statement, because I think a lot of times it's not about being an ass, but it is about stop being wimpy about it. So talk to us about that.
Well, I mean, I do come from the political world. So what I learned, I wrote about this. I wrote a chapter in my first book, Fire Them Now, which you had me on for. And I decided to write another chapter in this book because it was the most popular chapter I wrote in my first book. And so I wrote another chapter that had nothing to do with the Undefeated Marketing System. Like, I just wanted to write another chapter on it. It's really, the chapter in the first book, my first book, was called Going Negative. And so many people reached out to me and said, I would never do something like that with my business. And I went, oh, you know what? I got some bad branding. So I got some data feedback, right? And I said, I got to figure out a better way to soften this, because it freaks people out to say, let's go negative on your competition, right? So I came up with the term called comparatizing. It's just comparative advertising, brought together. So it's called comparatizing. If you really want to know what my third book would be, it's going to be called comparatizing. Like, that's the done deal. I don't know when I'll write it, but that's going to be the next book. Right. And it's bringing the art of the negative ad into corporate America. The difference is that in the political world, I can take a sledgehammer to my opponent's head, and as long as I don't offend 50.1% of the market, I win. Doesn't matter, right? And that's why we go so negative and so brutal in some of the ads that we run. In the corporate world, you can't do that. You're dead if you offend half the marketplace. Yeah. But there is a way, an artistic way of doing this that doesn't offend anyone, and draws deep loyalty to your company, and gives you, when you're having to break through a clutter of 10,000 ads a day, like we talked about earlier. Yeah. This is literally the most successful marketing strategy I have ever employed for any company ever. And I'll give you an example of what I mean by not offending and drawing loyalty and drawing distinctions. We worked with a high-end t-shirt and sweat company. Let's say they're a competitor to Lululemon. I think that's their marketplace. But when we looked in their customer data, we thought, oh, should we go after Lulu? Like, that's a competitor. We should go after them. We looked in their data, their customer data. the one that we talked about in part 1 of this episode. And we found out that that would be a disaster if we went after Lululemon. What we found in the data was that their customers were buying their high-end sweats and tees because they didn't like cheap sweats and tees.
Mm-hmm.
They didn't like sweats and tees that fell apart or didn't fit. They like tight fitting because they were in good shape and whatever it is. And I said, oh, there's an idea. And so we ended up running a campaign. It was the most successful campaign they ever ran in the history of their company. And it said, don't buy your clothes from a shoe company. And then the tagline was, just don't do it. Now, if you follow me here, you're smiling, right? Are you offended? Dove, are your sensitive capabilities, are you very offended right now by that?
Well, I'm feeling my snowflakes start to melt.
So nobody is offended by that. But what is it? It's a shot at Nike. It's a shot at all the big shoe brands that throw all their cheap workout gear and t-shirts and throws into the marketplace, right? The tagline, just don't do it. Obvious shot at Nike. We don't say Nike.
Nope.
And but we ran that ad, and it was literally the most powerful ad we ever ran for that company. We worked for a supplement company, and we found out in the data that their customers hated soda. This is like, how would I know that? I don't know, but we found out that they hated soda. So we ran an anti-soda campaign for this particular supplement company. And it was the most successful ad they had ever run. And the reason being is it didn't offend their audience. Their audience already didn't like soda. I think we found something like 73% of their customers didn't like soda. And so when we ran retargeting ads to them, and when we ran modeled audience and new audience targeted ads, we knew that they didn't like soda. Like the vast majority, if you knew 73% of your marketplace did not like something, why wouldn't you play off of that? And so no one's offended by that. It was incredibly successful. And when the consumer that sees 10,000 ads a day sees their favorite t-shirt company saying, don't buy your clothes from a shoe company, just don't do it, they laugh. And then they go, that's right. I don't like those cheap bastard t-shirt companies that are exploiting the Uyghurs in China or whatever it is, right? They're like, no way. Like you're drawing loyalty to now from the customer. They already don't care about this. They already care about high-end stuff. Same thing for the supplement company. When they see this, and we had this big anti-soda ad, and it said, yeah, I hate soda too. Those guys get me. It's empathetic. It's playing and working towards like understanding what the customer wants and delivering that to them.
Yeah. So one of the things that we teach is know thy enemy. And
tell me about it.
Right. So and know thy enemy is if you are approaching your marketing without the psychological understanding of who the enemy is to your customer,
right,
then you're gonna seem wimpy. You're gonna seem like you don't have any substance, and they are not gonna feel like you know them or you get them. And one of the things I teach them in this is, and I give this example all the time, and I know you'll recognize it. I say, everybody in the room, I've got my CEOs in the C-suite, and I say, okay, can you remember falling in love? Right, for some of you, it was a while ago, but can you remember it? Yes. Okay. When was the moment you knew you were in love? I don't know. I say, I know when it was. And they go, how can you know when it was that I knew I was in love? And I said, because if you didn't have this moment, you've never been in love. And they go, okay, what is it? I go, from a psychological point of view, I'll tell you what it is. Here's the quick story. My buddy Todd said to me after he'd met my now wife, and we were dating about 3-4 months, and he goes, how's it going? She's really awesome. And I said, I'm going to marry her. And he's like, what, really? I was 39, really? And I was like, yeah, I'm going to marry her. And he's like, wow, okay. I'm surprised. And I said, why? And he goes, well, I just didn't think you were going to do that. And I said, and as I said the words, I knew what I'd gotten. I knew I'd been looking for this. And I said, she gets me. That moment of feeling gotten is the moment of feeling bonded and connected. the mirror neurons in your brain are working, oxytocin is flowing in the brain, you're finishing each other's sentence. You get me. You get me is universal for I'm in love. So you have got to get your customers to get you, right? You have got to get your customers. You can't do that without an enemy.
That's right.
And because that's the way the brain is set up.
That's
right. They need to say, I'm with you on this. This is why we had political things that have been extremely right or extremely left.
Right.
And it's why it's difficult for most people, not all people, but for most people to say the nuance of things. Like, I don't like Donald Trump, but I really like this policy that he put forward. And I think that was really good. That's a difficult thing for most people to do. But that is a market in and of itself. But if you can understand that these people don't like soda or don't like cheap, and you talk to that, they don't go, oh, these are the anti-soda people. They go, they get me. And that's the crux of it. And I think that this is where so many people psychologically miss the mark in marketing is how do they know you get them? How do you get to them to have that message put forward? And part of that is to know thy enemy, state the enemy out loud. And you obviously did a brilliant job of that with Just Don't Do It.
Yeah.
You did that brilliantly with the soda. I applaud that enormously.
Well, they get me is what we're trying. That was very, very well said. I'm actually going to steal that. It was really well said. That is what we're trying to do here. Yeah. I hadn't thought about it, but that's exactly the outcome. Oh, yeah, they get me.
It's the psychology of
my
love.
whole thing is you should be like, as a marketing agency, we should be working ourselves out of a job every day. We should make the customers so loyal to that product that they don't even need a marketing agency. And so, if we talk about the 5 steps of the Undefeated Marketing System, but like, that's the whole point of it, is to build a loyalty. No, you see where I'm going, loyalty. That is going to drive these people to say, I'd be crazy not to use their product or service. They get me. The whole point is to get them.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, if you look at the top of the line products, they don't try and sell the product.
No.
They sell, I get you.
Yeah.
Right. Harley Davidson, one of the most loyal brands in the world. People have that tattoo of that brand more than any other brand. That's pretty insane. I'm going to mark my body with your brand.
Oh, by the way,
as advertising.
I've never seen anybody with a Honda motorcycle on their arm.
No, exactly. Right. Suzuki, Kawasaki. I don't think so. Right.
I thought the example I give in the book is Yeti coolers.
Yes.
Okay. It's a cooler. It's a cooler. And people put their bumper stickers on their car. They wear their hats everywhere. They are so freaking loyal to a cooler. They drink all their drinks out of it. They buy the coolers they buy $1,000 coolers because they're so loyal to the brand. It's incredible. And my question is, why aren't we all trying to do this? Why are we not trying to figure out how to crack that nut in your business instead of going, maybe we should run a bunch of Facebook ads?
But that's what I was saying at the beginning of part 1. It's a question we're not asking. So, I often say that people are asking the wrong questions. And I don't think that most people are even asking that question.
No.
Right? They go, well, I'm not Harley Davidson. I'm not BMW. I'm not Gucci. I don't know. So,
yeah.
And I know you've laid out a lot of that.
Those people the interested versus the committed.
Right. Right. So that's a common thing. Interested people are interested, committed people. The chicken was interested, the pig was committed.
Yeah. No, you see this because you work with so many CEOs. They all are interested, right? But so many CEOs go, oh my God, I love this. I'm interested. I want to do this. I want to do this. And then this little thing shuffles by. It's called a shiny object. and it shuffles right by them. And they go, ooh, but I'm interested in that now. And the committed just stay focused, put their head down, work it. And my point on the whole saying that the marketing world is rigged against every business is because if you're not committed to a professional systematic application of your marketing, you're only interested and you're going to lose every time. And the CEO that constantly chases the shiny object constantly fails. I mean, it just happens every time. You have to be methodical and you have to be committed. And I hate to tell you this, it gets boring. I'm sorry. That's what success is. Success is boring. And that's what we're trying to teach.
Yeah. A very good friend of mine who does phenomenal branding work. And he said, um, the formula for success is to be willing to be bored of hearing yourself talk about the same thing or do the same thing over and over until it's drilled into the brain. Right.
Hey, a politician gives the same speech literally 182 times. And it doesn't matter how many times that politician or his staff have heard it. The people out in that he's speaking to haven't heard it. Or if they have heard it, they hear it again and it resonates even more.
Yeah. So let's, I've got a couple of places I want to go in this part. So one of the things I want to talk about is you and I did a Facebook Live more than a year ago about the changing value systems of particularly in North America. The what people want or what people value now is different than it was in 2019. And I talked about that in the intro, that oftentimes people are marketing as if it's 2019, and in 2021 and beyond, they have to come at it from a different value system. Talk to us about what you found and why that's really important for us as leaders to pay attention to.
Yeah, well, the world, fundamentally changed. Not just in the sense of the pandemic, but the consumer world changed. Now we are a country of haves and have-nots. We are a country of consolidated power versus people that don't have power. And I mean that money-wise or politically or whatever, right? It could be that you've got politicians out there mandating certain things, and you have other politicians saying, we're not mandating anything, but it's all a form of power. And you've seen if you would have told me in March of 2020, hey, you should go buy Facebook stock, Amazon stock, and Apple stock, and you're going to 10x your wealth, I'd have been like, are you crazy? No, they're already high. They're already too high. There's no way. And so we've got a world of oligarchs, and that's just where we are. And people are scared. People are scared that the marketplace right now is going to bust at some point. And things are going to settle back down and even out. And they may, or they may not. But ultimately, we see in the data over and over again. Now, let me give you background for everybody that's listening, the background. So we have a partnership with the largest data collection, analytics, and AI company in America. When I talked about all this, how we look at customers in the past, this is what we do. But what I'm about to answer for Dove here and you guys is I'm actually going to tell you about what we found and that we give away for free, so you can get some value out of it. But we have 200 million plus American consumers in our database, 550 million connected devices. We track 10 billion purchasing decisions, online purchasing decisions every day, and
10 billion?
10 billion with a B, and trillion searches.
Wow.
Yeah. I would venture to say I've probably looked at more data than consumer data than maybe anybody else in the world over the since March of 2020. And what we've seen is how much have changed, right? The number one factor right now is trust. There's a lack of trust because of the way the economy has gone, that there are people making a gazillion dollars right now. And there are other people that go, how come I've been left behind? And am I going to buy this product? Is it just going to make, these guys even richer? Or I don't know. There's a lack of trust in the marketplace. So for me, what we're really seeing right now is just the messaging. Everything has to be around trust. But people, we have businesses we work with. Like I don't understand. I ran ads and the ads got a click. They didn't convert. What's going on? You know, you said this earlier, but I mean, in like an e-commerce sense. And
Yeah.
I go, people don't buy your products with seeing one ad. They don't trust that.
No.
You have to get them to go from seeing your ad to discovering your ad to being curious about your ad to clicking on the ad to going to your website to learning more about your story to watching to seeing if you've got 5-star reviews or you've got some validation from someone else that says your product is a good product to buy. It may take 8 or 9 different touches to get somebody to buy a product right now. And so an example, I've talked about this before, maybe on one of your podcasts, but we work with a big pest control company, a national pest control company. And when we worked with them at one point, they said, we came up with an idea that 99.9% of businesses would never do. But we set them on a path of massive growth for 10 years by doing this one idea. And that was, we told them that they should run a massive marketing campaign not to get one customer.
Really?
They should go to their current customers and run a massively expensive campaign to get 5-star reviews.
Wow.
We got 50,000 5-star reviews out of that campaign. It didn't get them a customer. Okay. But now we're in year 3 of running the exact same marketing campaign for them. Any market you go to, any market that they have a pest control company, the customer does this. They go to Google, they Google pest control company in Atlanta, Georgia. And then they, all these pop up. So we're good on SEO rankings. We got that. So we're in the top 3 because you're only going to, customers only going to check out 2, maybe 3 companies. We're always in the top 3. When they go, one company has 3 5-star reviews and a couple bad reviews. Another company has 100 5-star reviews. We have 50,000. Who are you going to hire to come into your house?
Yeah, exactly.
Right. 10 years. They can run one campaign for the next 10 years. But they were smart enough and innovative enough to know that they had to build the trust before they went out and got the customer. And that was one way that we did that, if that makes sense.
So trust is the number one value that has got to be.
And it's been that way since March of 2020. There have been others that have come in. There have been others that have gone out, helping others, safety in your product or service, all this. We've talked about this. Those have come and gone. But trust is the one thing that's never left, ever, in all the data we've looked at. An interesting sidebar that you would find interesting. And I'm writing a blog. It'll come out at the beginning of August. And for my subscribers, you can go subscribe and find it. But here's the deal. A year ago, we found that 87% of all consumers did not want a company going out and talking about Black Lives Matter or racial justice. The newest report is it's around 70%. So it's still a really high number. Of 70% of all consumers don't want to hear about social justice issues from a company. Now, you could say, well, you got to speak about it. It's what's going on in the world. Well, what if your customers don't believe that you're authentic when you're running out there and waving the Black Lives Matter flag or a racial justice flag because you're a brand selling shoes? They don't want to hear from a brand selling shoes about what they think about racial justice. That's inauthentic marketing. For example, and this is the story I write about, the company, it's called Reformation. It's a clothing company. They went out last year and they they held press conferences that they gave to like 10 social justice groups, and they started patting each other on the back, and they were trying to get all this publicity out of it. About 3 weeks later, an African-American employee came forward and said that they had racist promotion practices in the company, and she was bypassed for promotions because she was Black. The CEO came out and gave one of those fake apologies. 2 weeks later, she had to resign. The CEOs resigned. Now, that all started because they ran out and started screaming, "We are racial justice. We give all this money away." And the point of that is this. Not only is it inauthentic, customers see through that a mile away.
Yeah, I think people see very quickly the bandwagoning that happens
corporate
with social
America.
justice.
It's all for money. They know.
Yeah.
The only reason they're saying that is because they're trying to sell you more products. Stop being that person. That's not a trustworthy attribute of a company, right? And it's
Yeah,
not that
my thoughts around it is unless
you can have social justice as something you care about and something you donate to and something you fight for. You just don't need to make it your brand, because people see through that as nothing more than a play to get you to buy more products and services.
it doesn't take much to do the research to find out, have you always talked about this? Or is
Right.
this now
That's
the
right.
thing?
Right.
And if you haven't always talked about it, shut up.
Yeah.
Right.
So brands like Nike and Patagonia, they can talk about it.
Absolutely.
Right.
Because it's been part of their brand before it was a big thing. Okay, great. Then I'm going to support you. But if this is now the bandwagon, that the problem with bandwagons is they pass and you'll go with them because you get burned up in that. In the last couple of minutes, I want to talk about, this has been a great show and really thank you for everything that you've shared. But in the last part of the show, I want to talk a bit about what is the intent. I mean, you've done this, like I said, you've been on every podcast, you've been on every show, you've been on some of the very major media. What made you decide that you were going to do a podcast? Because, you've got enough with being on everybody else's. I know what it takes.
Yeah, well, apparently they just give them out today to anybody who wants one. So I said, well, I want one. So, I felt like I needed to have a companion to the book that lived beyond the book.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of feedback I got was people needed more resources to understand how to implement the 5-step undefeated marketing system. The book lays it out. And by the way, the book is nothing but stories. It is not a textbook. If you want a textbook on marketing, I did not write that. If you want a book that's filled with a lot of very funny and very interesting political war stories, and then how we utilize the system to win campaigns, and then how we translate it into business, and then the businesses that utilize it and the stories there, that's the book. But
it does lay out very clearly 5 clear steps
that anybody can take. You don't have to hire a marketing agency. You can absolutely do it. But the point is, I feel like the one thing I was kind of missing was the ability to continue to kind of spread my message and have more control over it. So I figured, hey, I've got a blog. I don't solicit anything on the blog. I just like writing and providing value. I like providing value in the books, and I wanted to provide more value. And trust me on this, nobody's hiring me through my podcast. So they want it because it's free information and it provides value. And so I figured, if I'm a give first person, and you're this way as well. I've learned through the years, you give much more than you take. And so my point is, if I'm out there trying to hawk all my stuff all the time, then it's inauthentic. But what's in my heart is to help other people. And if you want to come into my ecosystem after I've given, then awesome. But I needed to be the one that starts the give first.
Yeah, I fully agree with that. And you just very quickly, just tell our listeners some of the guests you've had on, because I think that might have people understand.
Yeah, I mean, we just launched it, so we've only
got a whole bunch lined up.
We've had Cal Fussman, who's one of the great storytellers in the world. He has interviewed Muhammad Ali and Nelson Mandela and Barack Obama, and he wrote for Esquire for years and years. He talks about storytelling. It's utterly fascinating. I've had James Altucher on. Peter Diamandis is coming on soon. Jay Abraham's going to be on soon. This guy named Dub Barron is going to be on soon.
Yeah, I'm not sure about that bloke. I think he's a bit of a wanker myself.
He's one of my favorites. But what I like to, so the other thing is this, the podcast it's short. It's about 45 minutes, but it's this. I start out and I say, where do marketers get it wrong? What have you seen that's failing in the marketplace? Because I think people learn by failure, right?
Absolutely.
And so I kind of focus on, here's the problem, here's the solution. And it's not, again, pushing my stuff. We just talk about how we see solutions in the marketplace. But everybody comes on and says, oh my God, let me tell you about this marketing campaign that I saw or that I did that completely bombed. And then I learned from it and all that. And so for me, I love that, because people like listening to that. That's an intriguing, story. And then everybody wants to know, how did you fail, but how did you come back from that? So that's exactly the way we focus it. But it's a lot of fun. I've enjoyed it.
Very cool. Well, thank you again, Phil. It's been a pleasure and honor. I would love for you to please tell our audience where they can find out more about you, about the podcast, about your book, about all the resources you have, and how people can be part of that ecosystem and connect with you.
Yeah. Again, philipstutz.com. You can buy the book on Amazon, and just subscribe to my blog, philipstutz.com. Same on the podcast. And then if you're trying to do a deep dive on your customers or clients, we do B2B or B2C. We'll do a 30-minute free consultation for any business owner to come in. We'll look at what their data looks like, and we'll give you some advice on what you should be doing. That's free. My team will do a free call with you. So that's at philipstutz.com/insights.
Fabulous. And again, we will make sure that all of the links to all the ways you can connect with Philip, whether it's through social media or through the URLs through his websites, they will always be there. Again, Philip, a pleasure and honor. Always.
Thank you.
Always a joy, my friend. Thank you so much. Hope you'll stay with us to the end. And for you, dear listener, remember that you can hang out with other conscious leaders, and you can chat about this episode that you've been listening to or any past episodes inside of our Facebook or LinkedIn groups. Just look for the Leadership and Loyalty podcast. It doesn't matter how successful you are. If your employees and your customers don't understand what gives your company meaning, you're only working at a fraction of your true capability. To find out how you can hire me, Dov Baron, as a speaker or leadership strategist for yourself or your organization, simply go to dovbaron.com. That's DOVBARON.com. Because unified actualized meaning is the one single monolithic difference between mediocrity and greatness in individuals and in companies. I want to thank you for sharing this show with everybody you know. Till next time, stay curious, my friend. Stay curious about how you can have your clients, your customers fall in love with you so that you can beat the house consistently. I'm Dov Baron. I'm here to assist you tapping into your deepest meaning to reach that next level of clarity, focus, purpose, and profit in your business, your life, and your leadership impact. And I am out.